Is this thing on? I hate always saying that here. I was playing around with the audio, and I hope this is audio is with us. I am gonna go have to do some stuff. I'm a little late to this, but we're gonna talk about why I use the cult of Sam Harris and see if, yeah, I think it is working. So I'm gonna go ahead and pretend like it's working. Please let me know in chat. I do have chat up now, so hi. Okay, so let's get started here. I've been using the tag, the Cult of Sam Harris, on YouTube for, I guess, a year and a half or however long I've been using it. I kind of stopped using it. I do feel a little self-conscious about it. I had to think about how I use it and why I use it. It's not as it is a meme type of thing to do. It's also capturing somebody's joke. It's interesting if you do listen to it. Sam has mentioned it, and I'm not sure if it's something he saw, one of my memes that I sent out there, or if he but now all of a sudden I'm tongue-tied. Yesterday I had no problem, but today for some reason I'm tongue-tied. I have a new subscriber, and this is actually in response to what he was challenging me with. Now I've had several videos that one of them I was with Glenn Greenwald, one of the first ones that was a video I did that was semi-successful, and I sort of capitalized on, Greenwald's name and Sam Harris's name. And it's one of the unfortunate realities we live in, is that how do you advertise who you are? What content are you doing? Why are you doing that content? So I do the content to draw attention, right? That's partly what we do this for. I mean, if you don't have people listening, if you don't have people commenting, if you don't have engagement, you can't have a community of people. You can't have a conversation. You need someone who wants to have a conversation in order to have a conversation, right? So you have a million channels and no viewers. That's not very useful. It's not useful for YouTube. It's not useful for views. So we have to advertise ourselves in some way. Now, the advantage of using the Cult of Sam Harris is that it actually attracts detractors and supporters, and it might engage. And I have had, if you look back on my most popular YouTube, is the character assassination of Sam Harris. And what happened in there is, if you go through the thread, I'm very proud of the conversations that occurred there. There's misinformation, there's all kinds of stuff, but there was some interesting conversations of detractors and supporters. So that's what using that does, is you kind of combine the two together. Those who want to support and those who want to detract, because, oh, it's a cult. Yeah, I know it's a cult. And that's useful, and you can use that. I'm not against Sam Harris, but people might call me a cult member. So the joke in my mind is, hey, I'm going to own the fact that I am a supporter of Sam Harris, but I'm not a supporter of him as a person. I am as a person, but I am a supporter of the ideas and of the conversation and of the principles that he's trying to generate and put into the world. Now this is I'm going to transition this in. So that's an example of what I'm talking about. And this is sort of the reality of what we're dealing with on YouTube and on social media in general. And this is something that Harris is fighting sort of against, and he's very frustrated with. And it goes all the way back to Glenn Greenwald, when he was trying to have a reasoned conversation with him, and it went tits up. And he said some things that I don't think he should have said, and that's kind of what my video is about, very narrowly focused. When you say, when you call people names, you should apologize for calling them names. That's really the only point in that conversation. You're not helping your conversation by name calling somebody. So even though I don't support Glenn Greenwald in the least, I do recognize civil discourse, and it's just kind of like, it's probably not the best tactic. And so I would defend that piece today. If Harris were to talk to me about it, I'd say, look, I understand, I support you entirely. I understand Greenwald's a pain in the ass. He's a deceptive, scum-sucking bastard, but we're even civil to them, and I think, I don't remember, but I think I linked to something. He kind of apologized, and he recognized his own involvement in encouraging that negative reaction. And it's been a long time. So I did post, as new information came in, I put them in the description of that particular video and linked back to some of Harris's further comments, just in case it became a historical record. It's actually for me as well. So it's like, okay, what happened in this conversation? How far did it go, et cetera. And that's kind of what I do, is for a record, I will go back and edit the descriptions and put in new details as new details come to light. But so, right or wrong, advertising is an interesting thing, and I'm frustrated with it, and human behavior, and what attracts people, and what's legitimate and what's illegitimate to do. And a channel that's a large size can often, they don't need to play any games, but we always do. I mean, in a certain sense. And you can get mad at me and explain why I'm wrong on that. That would be just fine. But that's why I wanted to just discuss the cult of Sam Harris. Boy, I felt like I had more to say about the cult of Sam Harris, but yeah, this is now I linked to a video to give you an example of, I used Harris again to get views, to get people also to know where I'm coming from. There was the video I linked to, was a guy wanted to debate Sam Harris, and I was like, okay, but Sam Harris isn't going to debate you. He doesn't have that kind of time. You're an idiot. No, I didn't say he was an idiot. I said, but I really feel like I can, argue that kind of argument. Let's go. I will defend his position. And that's the video that I linked in this particular, and I'm actually playing it again, and I called it Sam Harris Sends God TV Radio to Hell. Kinda, right? And I was kind of proud of that video because I sort of logically laid out my arguments, their arguments, for what they were, and I used the reasoning techniques that I think Harris would have wanted used if he were arguing it. Now, everyone's going to take their own take on an argument and how to approach a problem. And so my strategy for promoting my intellectual life is different than Sam Harris's strategy. His opportunities are different than my opportunities. And it's an open question of how should we engage with one another if we want to be involved in the social sphere. What are legitimate strategies and what are illegitimate strategies? When are we defaming someone and when are we supporting someone? And can we play with that idea with clickbaity icons and that kind of thing? Now, I want to point out this caricature. Now, that's a legitimate picture of Sam Harris, and I actually made sure that I found one that was for reuse and modifications. If you go into Google, they have a Google image search. You can search for images that have licenses that are legitimate. And if you're nice to someone and you want to be fair, try to get an image, and I've been guilty of not doing that. And if someone were to call me on it, I would gladly take it down. So I am aware of that. So I took an image that actually allows me, and legitimately allows me, to make a modification of that. So what I was really trying to show here is this is not Sam Harris. This is my caricaturation of Sam Harris, right? And the Cult of Sam Harris is a characterization of that whole idea, right? Now, one of the principles that I don't know how to get at, and the idea is that if you can somehow take away the stigma, the sting of an idea like Islamophobia or nigger, or a word that has this incredible sting. If you can take some of the sting out of a word so it doesn't have the power, you're doing a lot in terms of helping conversation in general. When people want to double down on keeping the stigma alive on a specific idea, they're basically creating a tension that they can use as a club or a weapon to suppress speech. But intent does matter. So, what is the intent of the person's action? And that to me is really scary, when people don't understand that facts alone aren't going to tell the story. It has to be facts in context to understand. If someone said X, you can take anything that Sam Harris said. I mean, he said so many things that you can make him say anything you want. In fact, well, now we even have computer programs that can generate information that's inaccurate. So we have to deal with that. And part of what I'm doing is mocking the control that we actually have over our image. Now, Harris and I may disagree on where the control should end and that sort of thing. And those are intellectual discussions that I'm free to talk to anyone that wants to talk about those issues. But how should we try to control our image? And if we can't control our image, what should be the routines we go to in terms of accountability? Harris gets mad at me. He is free to contact me. I'm not impossible contact. Now, the reverse is not always going to be the case. I mean, I can't ask Harris's permission every time I want to use his likeness. That would be unruly, uncomfortable, and impossible to maintain. So it's from a practicality standpoint, I have to make decisions, creative decisions on my own, and go with it. And this is something that I respect other creators for. And they're very interesting questions as a society. And I think the only thing that we can really do, and to be consistent, is to remember the incredible importance of being honest and being caring for other people. If you don't care about the people you're quote unquote attacking, if you're doing it because you want to hurt them, I would say those are the wrong motives. So even people that I may not agree with, I'm not trying to hurt them. Now, and I would say to myself, what you said about Glenn Greenwald being a scum sucker, hey, that's not appropriate in terms of conversation. But I was trying to make a point, in terms of my feelings. And of course, he is who he is, and he believes who he believes. I don't know his motives. I don't trust him because of the things that he's done to Harris and the things he's said that are just so... I wasn't really even planning to go here, but that's what happens when you do live streams. Greenwald did a thing on privacy, a TED Talk on privacy, and I really should go back and revisit it again, because it's such a dishonest speech and it's deceptive as hell. And just shows a level of sneakiness and just intellectual dishonesty that he's capable of. And it's subtle, and some people might not even realize he's doing it. And let me what the hell? I'm going to summarize a little bit here. Privacy is more than just your right to privacy. It's our right to know. So you could say privacy is protecting someone's secrecy. Do you want your government to have a bunch of secrets? What secrets are a matter of security? What secrets are a matter of, I don't want you to know how the sausage is made so you can't win the next election type of thing. So as, you know, are you protecting people that are harming other people? If you have the power to protect people with information, meaning making information available, and you don't do it, isn't that causing more harm than the privacy that you're trying to protect? Privacy cannot be looked in isolation. And that, if you go to the TED Talk that he does, and that's basically what he's arguing, privacy needs to be protected at all costs. In what context? There are contexts where privacy is a bad idea. And I fight with that. I want people to have privacy. And that's something we can realize. There's things I don't want to know about you. There's things that I want not to think about when I think about you. Or it's not something you want to have in your mind. And that's intentionality. What do you intend to do with information? What are you trying to prove? And there is a larger picture in terms of surveillance and in terms of thinking about what we can do with information to protect people, not just from privacy, but from being lied about. If I have a video record of an event that proves that what someone has said about me isn't true, then that can be used for my defense. And in fact, we've seen this recently with some of the, I don't know if you know him, Tim Pool, he's someone I follow, and he was explaining how there were people lying about what had happened. And his video and some other people's videos proved that everyone was lying or misremembered. Because remember, memory is a constructive process. It's not like a video recorder. It doesn't record absolutely what happened. That's why video recorders are so important. We only reconstruct what we remember, and we may not remember everything that occurred because we were distracted by things that were occurring. And of course, the classic example of this, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. They have a gorilla walk through a group of people, and they have people watching this video. And there were some questions they're asking, and then one of the questions was, did you see the gorilla walk through the thing? And I was, yeah, right, like a gorilla walked through that scene. And no one remembered, or very few people remembered. I forget what the statistics are. But then when they see the video again, it's, oh wow, there was a gorilla in the scene. And that just shows you, just the frailty of people's memory. So even though someone may think they remember something, don't be so hard on them, because their memories could seriously be defective. They might not, it might seem like they're just being evil and manipulative and stuff. They might just basically want this to be true, and we need to be forgiving of people's inability to actually, how do you say it? Make mistakes. And it's a frailty we need to know of ourselves. We can be wrong. It's very easy to be wrong. And that's where other people come in. We need other people's perspective. And so for Bulldog, I hope he doesn't mind me calling him out, but I like that he questioned my motives. I like that he was suspicious of my motives. And I think that's important. It's okay to be suspicious. Don't be mad at someone for being suspicious. But one of the cool and wonderful things about what I like about what I'm doing, and it has to do with some psychological stuff for me, is that someone comes with a negative opinion, and because I know I'm kind of setting them up by using the cult of Sam Harris, they may experience being wrong. They may experience the experience of being wrong about me. And just experiencing that is a powerful thing, right? If you can go, oh, I was wrong, and realize what it feels like to be wrong, and go through the actual emotions of being wrong. and it helps you identify with other people. You know, you can see how the stickiness, you know, how we want to be so right. Um, that is a problem that we have to overcome. That's an emotional thing that we have to overcome in terms of our conversations. Identify what it is that's preventing us from accepting someone's facts, accepting a possible different narrative in a situation, um, and then moving forward from that point. One of the things that I would, in Harris's book Lying, one of the things I sort of began to realize was, I say, I hear what you're saying, but we still need a process by which people can be reinstitutionalized into the non-lying universe. We need a rehabilitation process. And in the book, he doesn't really address the rehabilitation of liars into truth tellers. We need to have a forgiveness clause some way, and some way to relearn, you know, what are the steps to of forgiveness and trust. In some ways, you know, it's interesting. Lance Armstrong's an interesting case in this, and I mentioned it before, and I think it's important. How do we use his experience? How do we use that so we can all grow from it? How do we not set people up to become liars, to become deceptive? I mean, some people think he was a compulsive liar. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a complete narcissist, and that's an absolutely true diagnosis of who he is as a person. And I don't know. He's a perfect deceiver. But you know, seeing his interview with Joe Rogan, won't have a problem. And I don't know if that makes sense to people, but it's probably something I'll come back to on many occasions. When are we being deceptive to hurt? And when are we being deceptive to help? Now, I don't want to call what I'm doing, calling the Cult of Sam Harris, as being deceptive, but it's not necessarily what you think. So in that sense, it is a bit deceptive, but it's for a good reason, and it's for an honest reason. Is that possible? I don't know. You Sam Harris experts can let me know how that works out. But anyways, that's why I use the Cult of Sam Harris, and I definitely don't want to go over a half an hour. I kind of set myself up for that. And for those people that listen or don't listen, I kind of lost track of my chat log here. I'll just double check to make sure no one did chat into me, because just in case there's a question, I want to make sure I answer that question. And there were no questions. So if anyone watched live, hey, that was pretty cool, right? And of course, always comment, criticize. I'm always open for all that good stuff. And again, this is a catalyzer. Well, how should I end my YouTube videos? This is a catalyzer. Thanks for being catalyzed.